As human beings and as Africans, sometimes when issues like this happens, we most at times address the symptoms without going to the roots. And now we end up concluding with misconception that South Africans hate other African foreigners in their country. Because the attitude and habit of some of us African foreigners in the places where we are occupying here in South Africa with regards to sanitation, poor sanitation, is not. If you are a landlord or a landlady, will you rent your house out to a person you know by record that they are messy and they have bad sanitation habits? Let's be sincere. Welcome to my channel. My name is Bra Jones and it's your only bra from Ghana. And I'm living inside South Africa, aka Tabo, aka Tapelo, aka Temba, aka Tapiso, aka Karabo, aka Impo, aka Bongani, aka Sipo, aka Temba, aka Tabang, aka whatever South African name you call me, I accept. Call me your South African brother. Guys, if this is the first time you're coming across this channel, please consider subscribing. Subscribe to this channel. But if you are already a subscriber, may God richly bless you. May God make us all rich. This is a travel channel with me, your bra, and I'm living here in South Africa. I am from Ghana, and I am talking about the positivity. I'm talking about the good vibes. I'm talking about the culture. I'm talking about everything good. This channel is always about positivity. We don't have time for negativity. And so kindly subscribe. And you know, once this is a travel channel, someday we are going to travel outside South Africa and then show Africa to the world. And someday we are going to go into the world and then show the world to the world. And so kindly subscribe and help this channel grow. Let's go. So as a Ghanaian and a citizen of Africa, I've come to know that one of the key factors that has transformed any nation from a lower status to a better status is discipline. History and human nature has proven time and again that for a country or an institute or whatsoever to thrive, they have to embrace the enforcement of law and order. And that is what changed many countries like Dubai, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and etc. etc. Law and order was the prime level of which they started with. And in this video, I'm talking about discipline with us Africans, emphasizing on the area of sanitation. That is what started in Dubai. That is what started in Singapore. That is what started in Thailand, China, and etc. etc. And many other countries that today are called among the elite and are doing so well economically and have become a target and a dream country for many others to visit. More especially some of us Africans to desperately move to for greener pastures. And South Africa is one of the not many African countries who are doing so well with discipline in the area of sanitation based on the African standard. And this has made the nation thrive and has become the nation with the highest number of immigrants among all African countries, hosting over 2.9 million people. As a Ghanaian living in South Africa, one of the common statements that I come across on various platforms on the internet by my fellow Africans and other Africans living here in South Africa is that South Africans see their fellow Africans who are wanting to leave their country and come and live here, and those who are already living here in South Africa as problematic. But they welcome Europeans, Americans, and Asians who are wanting to come and live here, and those who are already living here in South Africa with open arms, and they have no problem with them. But wait, what at all can cause an African to see the fellow African as problematic and not wanting to live with them? But they would rather prefer to live with a Westerner who is from a different continent and is almost coming here for the same reasons as the African. Does this even make sense? See, I'm not trying to say that those comments we found and see and hear on the internet are not true. Oh, actually they are. Oh yeah, they are true. But in this case, the why is what needs to be addressed. As human beings and as Africans, sometimes when issues like this happens, we most at times address the symptoms without going to the roots. And now we end up concluding with misconception that South Africans hate other African foreigners in their country. As a Ghanaian living in South Africa, I've come to know that one of the reasons why South Africans prefer to live with the Europeans or the Westerners over their African fellows is the poor sanitation habits of some of us Africans living in South Africa. And I know I have said this, even though I've said some, but still some people will come in my DM and be like, I am trying to side with South Africans. Probably because some of them are also guilty of what I'm saying. But it still doesn't change the fact that no matter how borderless and united we are hoping for Africa to be, we are still foreigners living in another person's country. And so we are not above the law and order of that country. Oh yeah, the fact that you don't believe in gravity doesn't mean that gravity doesn't exist. Once you jump up, you will definitely come down. So far as you don't own an ID of that country, it means that you are not a citizen. You are a foreigner. You are a visitor. And so we must act as such and abide by the laws and order of the household we came visiting. Because the attitude and habit of some of us African foreigners in the places where we are occupying here in South Africa with regards to sanitation, poor sanitation, is not. And now when you go to places where these Western foreigners are occupying here in South Africa, you will know for yourself whether they are destroying the place or they are improving the surroundings. But let's be sincere to ourselves. That will you welcome and live with a visitor who doesn't add any value of good sanitation to the surroundings of your house and your country? If you are a landlord or a landlady, will you rent your house out to a person you know by record that they are messy and they have bad sanitation habits? Let's be sincere. I know that it is not all of us African foreigners living in South Africa that are messy and are of poor sanitation habits. Definitely no. I can't even say that. Moreover, I am also a foreigner living here in this country. And so it wouldn't even make sense. There are some of us who are very clean and law-abiding. But sometimes when one onion gets rotten, it affects the rest of the onions in the sack. And so in this case, the citizens of South Africa are using preventive measures by any means possible to save their country. Because they know that that is all they have got. Why? Because they don't know the attitude and character of those who are wanting to come and then live here. And because the human head is not like any fruit that you can just cut and see what is inside. Now the record, character and attitude of some of us who are living here already has become the basics of trust in this regard. And sometimes when we talk about this and try to call incompetence to order, some people are so allergic to the truth that they now begin to use the sentiment of Pan-Africanism to gain position. Of course, yes, we are all striving for one Africa, but we must first fix our bad attitude as African citizens first. If you can't fix it, then you must leave it there in your country before you even apply for visa. Because poor sanitation habits can have severe consequences on the environment, public health, and then community relationship if our concept of Africa becoming one at all costs is to ignore the fact that the innocent will suffer sicknesses and diseases like cholera, typhoid, and diarrhea, and etc., then it is not unity at its best. And these sicknesses and diseases are found mostly in places where African foreigners are occupying here in this country. Sometimes we look at the beauty and sanity of places like America, Dubai, Malaysia, Singapore, and etc., and we wish that our countries are also like that. But are we willing to pay the price that citizens of these countries paid that made their country be and look like that as African citizens? Sometimes it is so easy to point judgmental fingers at our leaders and blame them for the poor sanitation crisis here in Africa. Until we begin to ask ourselves these questions that if there is no policeman or watchman on the street to make sure, are we citizens not going to drop trash at where it is not supposed to be? Are we not going to urinate and dump trash where they are not supposed to be when no policeman or watchman is standing there to make sure? Before we begin to blame our leaders for not enforcing law and order with regards to poor sanitation, we should know this as African citizens, that a person's character is what they do if no one is watching. Let's look at what is happening in Rwanda recently. Even though the government is forcing law and order, but if the citizens decide not to cooperate with the government, we wouldn't be seeing the change that we are seeing today. The beautiful cities that we are seeing today. If the citizens of Rwanda decided not to pay the price, we wouldn't be seeing the clean street and environment that we are all seeing today that we admire. It is always possible when citizens decide to pay the price and come hand in hand with the government with regards to sanitation and cleanliness. Sometimes, just sometimes, the reason why we think our leaders are incompetent and we the citizens are competent is because we have not been given the chance to lead. When we learn not to make rubbish in our homes, we wouldn't be making rubbish in government when we are given the chance to lead. I am not trying to be judgmental on African foreigners living in South Africa. No, who am I even to judge? One way or the other, I'm also a foreigner living here in this country, and I have my own flaws too. Neither am I making this video to please South Africans or whatsoever. For what reason? This is a call to action to improve poor sanitation habits among Africans and Africans living in South Africa and wherever that we find ourselves in the diaspora. Let's live right wherever that we find ourselves. For cleanliness leads to godliness. Thank you. Thank you guys for watching. This is where we draw the curtains. In case you found this video interesting, please subscribe to this channel and help this channel grow. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much. I really appreciate you patronizing my channel each and every time. May God bless us all and make us all rich. We should always remember that the Almighty God has created this earth and has given you power to create your own space out of it. Remember that yesterday you said you would do it tomorrow. And so today is the tomorrow that you were talking about yesterday. And so start that business, start that channel, start that education, start that course. He said, whatever that your hand shall found doing shall be blessed. And so don't procrastinate. Start something now. Make a move now. God bless you for watching this video. See you in the next. Bye-bye.